Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of the Linda Cohn Show. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you did something fun. Hope you're making memories, because that's what the money is for. You're making money not to spend on material things. The key is to make the money to make memories with your family and friends. That's what I swear by. By the way, thank you, subscribers. We're up to 16,300 plus. Really appreciate you, and spread the word. You know how I like to say that. Spread the word, spread the fun, because that's what we do here on the Linda Cohn Show, and let people in on it, okay? That was my dog Babs coughing in the background. You might be hearing sounds from her always, because this is a live show. And the poor girl is getting older, so, I give her a pass. But anyway, back to all of you. Tell people, and just subscribe. It's free, and share and like and all that silly stuff, because it's great. I really appreciate it. So is Dominic, who is with me. We'll hear from him in a bit. What else did I want to tell you? I don't know. Okay, I was telling you about the weekend and how it's about making memories and all of this. I did that. Yes, I did that on Saturday. I live in Los Angeles. My daughter lives in Los Angeles. And the beauty of Los Angeles, besides the weather, which is what I pay for, by the way. I know it's expensive, but it's so damn close to Vegas, gate to gate. It's like 45-minute plane ride. And would you believe it still costs a fortune? But that's neither here nor there. So anyway, my daughter and I went to see the amazing, and she was amazing, Kelly Clarkson in Vegas at Caesars. What a show she put on. I wanted to share some videos of the song she sang, but Dom alerted me, I'm new to this whole YouTube stuff, that you can't just go out and, share people's live music. That's naughty. They don't like that. They will punish you. They will take that down. I don't want anything risking the show. So I was going to send you videos of Since You've Been Gone, Miss Independent, you name it. I mean, Behind Those Hazel Eyes. I mean, all of my favorites. She was great. She sang it. And you know what? I highly recommend you seeing Kelly Clarkson. I highly recommend it because, she talked a lot to the audience. And this is the point I want to get out. Before we get to the WNBA chaos, before we get to some stories going on in the NFL, which I want to share with you. But she spoke to us, the audience, like we were her best friends. Seriously. And not just BS. I mean, stuff about her therapist, stuff about putting things out in the universe and how that's important, and all of it. And I took it all in, and I loved it. And plus, she looked gorgeous. And as my daughter said, Sammy said, she goes, her voice was incredible, and I agree. But Kelly Clarkson can sing the phone book. That's how great her voice is. She's wonderful. So anyway, I had a great Saturday night. But the whole point of telling you that, besides, sharing this life lesson with you, is the fact, I try not to be near my phone on Saturday, but it was impossible. And of course, I blocked it out during the concert. But when I got back from the concert and I was just chilling, that's when I saw all the stuff that happened with the WNBA, with the Indiana Fever against the Chicago Sky. It was endless. The videos, the commentary, the critiques, the people coming out of the woodwork, to voice their opinions. And the first thing I saw was the absolutely ridiculous, stupid call by that official. Shocking, a WNBA official with a bad call. Shocking when Caitlin Clark is going to the basket, trying to make a layup, and went out of bounds. And the official didn't bother to move. She looked like the Statue of Liberty standing there. And Caitlin Clark barely touched her. There was accidental contact. That official is lucky Caitlin didn't run her over and threw into the row 5. But she didn't. She eased up. There was accidental contact. And then the official you got a technical foul. And Caitlin was like, you got to be kidding me. And so was the world. You got to be kidding me. And when I saw that video, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What the hell did she do? And for Caitlin Clark in that situation, it was crazy, because that would have been her 8th technical foul of the year. And that results in an automatic 1-game suspension. So that dumb call was quickly rescinded, mainly because it was a stupid call and it was inaccurate. And the other reason I believe truly is that Caitlin Clark, the next game for her is Tuesday, against the New York Liberty. Tuesday's game just happens to be on ESPN. You think ESPN wants to do an Indiana Fever game without Caitlin Clark in it because of some BS call? So that was like quickly rescinded. Okay, that was the number one thing that happened that I first saw after I got out of the Kelly Clarkson concert. The second thing was the Dejounte Carrington, assault to the neck of Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham was going obviously for a layup. Dejounte Carrington, really, some people say it was her playing great defense, but her arm struck Sophie's neck and knocked her over. And let's congratulate the officials when congratulations are indeed worthy. They made the right call. They called it a flagrant 2 foul on Dejounte Carrington. And that was the correct call. And so that meant Carrington was thrown out of the game, ejected, automatic ejection. And here's the crazy part. So she goes in the locker room, and what does she do? She's not thinking about what she did. She's not thinking about how she hurt her team. No. She goes to her phone and goes on her Threads account and posts white privilege at Indiana Fever, so they would see it, of course. And she put the date of the next game, the rematch of when they play each other again. And that would mark it down on your calendar. That would be August 23rd. And so my question to you, even though I said on an earlier video, which I had to do on Sunday because this was like eating at me, it's one stupid thing to say white privilege, which it was not. The other thing, I don't care what she said. She could have said dog privilege, cat privilege. It doesn't matter. The point is, she should be fined. Fined for using social media, fined for doing this during a game. I don't care if she was thrown out of the game. That should be a rule that you should not be allowed to, players should not be allowed, coaches should not be allowed to go on social media during a game. So I'm sure that fine's not going to happen. So anyway, there was those two issues. And you know what cracks me up though? The thing that always cracks me up is that there's one side of this fence that says, oh, there's the other side always using social media to create a narrative when it comes to the WNBA and how it feels about politics and cultural issues. That's what they accuse people of doing on a certain side. Well, isn't what Dejounte Carrington did, isn't she doing the same thing? She's using social media to make her point and create a narrative. So it's not one side, it's both sides doing that. And then after the game, good old Stephanie White, always creating content for me. I forget what team she coaches half the time because she's busy defending players that are from the other team, not her own. Take what happened, of course, in the Dejounte Carrington situation. Stephanie White agreed the call was correct, but she went on to praise Carrington. Roll it, Dominic.
About Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup. And so I don't oppose the hard foul. But I also don't think that she intentionally went for the net.
I listened to that whole post-game news conference by Stephanie White. There was no mention of Sophie Cunningham or any support for her own player. And remember last week when I told you about it on the show, when Sophie was elbowed in the face in another game and the officials gave Sophie Cunningham the foul and Stephanie White looked like a spectator because she didn't get up out of her seat to argue that call even after a video review let the call stand? That's Sophie's coach. She never supports Sophie Cunningham, ever, ever. And then, of course, a lot of you guys who watch the show remind me, she did the same thing. Here she was praising the kind of player Dejounte Carrington is. She did the same thing with Alyssa Thomas when Caitlin Clark was on her back and Thomas had her arm to her throat. And there was support for Alyssa Thomas and not a lot of concern for Caitlin Clark in that situation by Stephanie White. This coach, listen, I know her history. I know what a great player she used to be. I know what a great coach at times she is, but it's not working with the Indiana Fever. The reason why she's not fired already is because either the ownership or the team executives don't care or are not even watching the games, which I don't think that's the case. But Indiana Fever, they're doing well. They're championship contenders in the WNBA this year. But they are not because of Stephanie White. They are because of Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. That combo, that tandem makes Indiana Fever games worth watching. Always worth watching. So Stephanie White, count your blessings for at least two of the players you're coaching, because I feel, my opinion, they have kept you in your coaching seat, at least for the end of this year. Now, it gets better. This weekend has been all WNBA chaos. I'm not looking for it. It's there provided on a platter. Former NBA players, Enes Kanter and Royce White, they made news. They have announced plans to enter the WNBA draft. That's right. They are challenging the WNBA over its rules concerning transgender athletes. Now, the current framework of those rules allows them to claim eligibility based on gender identity. Kanter essentially is saying, if these are the rules, I'm going to test them. That's what he's doing here. I mean, are we going to see Enes Kanter in the WNBA and Royce White in the WNBA? My money is on no. No, they're not going to be drafted. But when this happened, that triggered something in WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. Hello, Kathy Engelbert. Thank you for being around and, making sure that's not crickets here, because there's a lot going on in your league. So Kathy Engelbert sent a memo to teams acknowledging the controversy and said league leadership will meet next week to discuss transgender athlete participation and the current league policy. Now, speaking of the current league policy, just in case you want to be, refresh your course on the WNBA's current collective bargaining agreement, it reads only players who are women are eligible to play in the WNBA. And that might sound like common sense considering the W in WNBA stands for women, last we looked. But this CBA, though, does not define woman or establish whether eligibility is based on biological sex, gender identity, hormones, etc., and all that stuff. So any change in league policy is going to happen through the collective bargaining agreement. And that is why the commissioner can't change it. Not that, who knows if she would anyway. But that is why she has scheduled this meeting next week. So they can look at it and they can figure out, these higher ups can figure out, we're going to define a woman this way. So kudos to Enes Kanter and Royce White, because if those two, with their little test of the eligibility rules of the WNBA, if those two prompted this action by Kathy Engelbert, bravo to you two, because at least maybe we're going to get somewhere, and that would be great. So here's a big picture for you. Let me know in the chat box. Let me know and ask Linda at the end of the show, or just comment. Give me some comments. I'll try to get to them. Definitely. That was my dog coughing again. Is the WNBA, because you always hear the argument, oh, the WNBA, it's hotter than ever. The ratings are great. Well, is the WNBA being damaged by all this endless controversy? Or is the controversy actually helping the WNBA, become impossible to ignore? I think it's the latter. I think they're creating the controversy and it becomes impossible to ignore. This is why I still talk about it, because it's head shaking, these topics, and someone's got to talk about it. I know I'm not the only one, and I know we're hearing from both sides, but I just don't want to hear one side say, oh, it's the other side making this all a big deal. No, both sides use political and cultural issue topics to voice a narrative, and both sides are allowed to voice their opinion. One side should not be bullied or badgered. I'll stand by that. Let everyone talk. But for me, I like talking about these issues because people are talking about it. And I feel I am the voice of the fan. Whether you agree or not, I am the voice of the fan. I always have been. And I love hearing what you guys think. All right, can we talk about the NFL, please? For goodness sake. What a difference 3 years makes in a person's life. And it's kind of disappointing and it's kind of sad. I'm talking about Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts. You remember Anthony? 2023, we all remember. Richardson was picked 4th overall in the NFL draft by the Indianapolis Colts. At that time, that was a bit of a shock. Not only to me, I was surprised, but I wasn't the only one. Maybe you were as well. Yes, he's 6'4". He's athletic. He had a big arm in college. He was an elite runner. He was highly athletic. So people were like, yeah, okay, maybe it's not a big a gamble to pick him that high in the draft. But a lot of people, including the so-called draft experts, and I'm not one of them, but I felt, I don't know, I thought he was a late first round, maybe second round pick, but 4th overall? Oh, what a disaster it's been. And it's not only, it's not only on him, because when you pick someone that high, especially a quarterback, you put so much pressure on this guy. He was 21 years old at the time, if I recall. It's a lot of pressure to put on a kid, especially he was basically thrown right into it. And it wasn't a good thing. I mean, the guy was saddled with injuries. So many injuries Anthony Richardson suffered. Many of them were just freak injuries. Others were not. And his passing ability was, how shall we say, not good. It was not good. Let me give you some numbers. Passing numbers through his first 3 seasons. 50.6% completion rate. Not good. 2,400 passing yards. That's in 3 seasons overall. 11 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. That's in 3 seasons overall. That's his total. Again, injured a lot. Played just 2 games last year. And then I mentioned a freak injury. This is a real freak injury. It happened in pregame warmups last season. He suffered an orbital fracture and he missed the rest of the season. So he's back this year, but then he sees that Daniel Jones, and of course the Colts, poor Daniel Jones, he got hurt late in the season, but he rebooted his career, as we all know. And he was signed to an extension. And then the Colts have Riley Leonard. He's a second-year quarterback. And then you have Anthony Richardson. Right now, Anthony Richardson, 3rd string. He's battling. I don't know if he's battling. I think he lost the job as the backup already to Riley Leonard. But in camp, he's been trying to win the 2 spot. I don't know. It's not happening. He's having a lot of issues. The passing is still an issue. Everything's an issue in training camp. It's just not going well. So Anthony Richardson has requested a trade. But what team in their right mind would give up an asset right now to get Anthony Richardson? I know he's only 24. I know it. But there hasn't been progress at all. It's been regression. Yes, he was thrown into the fire. Yes, he's had bad luck with injuries. But there's nothing to hang your hat on here. And if I'm another NFL team, I'm not taking a chance. I mean, would you on Anthony Richardson? And I mean, do you think this guy is one of the biggest NFL draft busts in draft history? Anthony Richardson? I won't go there because I define a draft bust if someone and everyone, like the majority of people, think a guy like this or the draft bust is deserving of a high draft pick. He should not have been picked 4th overall. This is not like Tony Mandarich, back in the day. This is not Ryan Leaf of back in the day where everybody thought, that's where he deserves to be picked. Anthony Richardson should never have been picked 4th overall. So I don't feel he is one of the biggest draft busts in NFL history. I don't know what you think. Hey, listen, I hope he can find a job as a quarterback in the NFL, but as each day goes by, I feel like if he wants to stay in the NFL, it might be a situation where he's got to hang around and wait, sadly, for other, quarterbacks to get hurt. But that would still kind of just fill a roster spot as a backup, as a number 2. I think his days of being considered a franchise quarterback is over. Those days are over. And dare I say, he might want to consider switching positions and giving up his dream of playing quarterback in the NFL if he wants to stay in the NFL. Let's move on. You know what else happened on Saturday? A lot of excitement in Buffalo. You know, my sister and my brother-in-law, my nephews live in Buffalo, but I knew this was happening. They're all excited. They love the Buffalo Bills with good reason. Doesn't everybody in Buffalo love the Buffalo Bills? So did you hear on Saturday they had the what they call the blue and red practice? They opened up their spanking new Highmark Stadium. These diehard fans waited decades to have a shiny new palace for their beloved Bills to play in. They opened the doors for practice. Yes, practice. 52,000 people showed up, 52,000 fans to watch this, to see their beloved Bills in action, in practice. You know, this thing cost $2.2 billion, this facility. So, of course, when they walked into the building, they were expecting, you know, stunning, like a monument, like a palace, right? Like a castle for their knights in shining armor. Well, you know, remember these fans, taxpayer money, I think 2.2 billion was the cost to construct it, but fans paid for taxpayer money was like $850 million made up of that taxpayer money. They paid for $850 million of this facility. So they have a say. And we're talking about one of the biggest fan bases in all of sports. Bills fans. Any sport. Bills fans. One of the top 10 fan bases in all of sports. They deserved a palace. They waited long. So what do you think happened? This thing lit up social media on Saturday. Why? Because there were many fans complaining. Okay, they love the concourses. They love the, you know, different things about the facility. There were obstructed views. Season ticket holders, some of these season ticket holders that paid good money had obstructed views. There were like railings blocking some of the field. There were structures blocking part of their view. After many of these season ticket holders were told that they would have unobstructed views. They even asked, they said, listen, if I'm going to put down this kind of money, don't shock me. And when I sit down on my seat for the first time, that my view will be obstructed. And they got guarantees that would not be the case. But what do you think happened? Just the opposite. Not everyone's view was obstructed, but there was enough to create an outburst on social media. People were like posting pictures. It was everywhere Saturday. That is what we like to call an optic nightmare. They don't deserve that. I don't know how this was allowed to happen. How do you let railings block views? Don't they, I'm sure they could have hired, you know, people to sit in some seats, every seat, to check out if their view was obstructed. I feel bad for these fans, especially that's a season tickets. I didn't look it up. I'm sorry. You can look it up. How much they cost for this new stadium? I know they raised the price compared to the old stadium. There was also criticism, not only of the obstructive views, but these small screens, the small video screens for this huge, beautiful stadium. The screens were especially small. Hey, we're all spoiled now. We expect big video screens with these new NFL stadiums. These were smaller. So you couple the obstructive views on certain seats, many of them, with they can't even look at the screens to see what they're missing because they're small. We understand they're small. Did I mention it was an optic nightmare? There are positives. You can look those up too. But the Bills have a problem. They're going to have to address this issue. They're going to have to first explain to their fans what happened and how are they going to fix it? What do they intend to do about it? Can they do it this season? Can they fix it this season? My guess is probably not. And I feel for those fans. I really do. I hope the Bills give them something, I don't know, anything to help them out. But the small screens, and most important, the problem, the obstructed views from many, many seats at beautiful Highmark Stadium, worth $2.2 billion, which taxpayers paid $850 million of. Listen, I know that Josh Allen is seen as Superman and he could do no wrong and he can do anything. And he loves the new uniforms, but even Josh Allen can't fix this. And I'm sure he feels bad as well. So that also happened. You know what else happened? Hey, we've seen this before, but we've never seen it between two superstars, to my knowledge. Training camp scuffles. We saw it this weekend, happened Friday, I believe, with the Raiders. Like they don't have enough issues and challenges. Max Crosby, best defensive player on the team, going at it with Kirk Cousins. Now the Raiders veteran quarterback. First year with the Raiders is Kirk Cousins. He's been around the block a few times. They went at it, not once, but twice. And the second contact these two had, it was during some drills, typical drills. The first time it happened, Kirk Cousins gave Max Crosby a little, push, a shove, whatever. Second time it happened, Kirk Cousins, it led to an interception, by the way, which probably really pissed off Kirk Cousins. So he went at it with Max Crosby. I have no problem with this. So the coach, Clint Kubiak, he's like, hey, they're competing, but you know what? Players got to be smart, even in training camp. You can't lose your cool, can't lose your temper. So he sat them out of team drills the next day on Saturday. I'm sure both Max Crosby and Kirk Cousins weren't crying over that. There was a silver lining to this. That meant on Saturday that Fernando Mendoza got first team reps on Saturday. That's good for his development, by the way. So those two were back. Everything's fine. There was no lingering repercussions. But what about it? This is the question I want to ask you. We usually don't see this against two superstars. Go at it. I feel that Kirk Cousins showed he could be a veteran leader. He wants to prove to his new teammates on the Raiders, especially on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, of course, that he's in it to win it, that he's going to be an improvement from Geno Smith last year. And he wanted to stand up. Now, Max Crosby, I will never fault that guy. This guy plays every snap like it's the Super Bowl, right? He means business, and you don't mess with Max Crosby. But I think it's good. I think it's a good sign. I don't know what you think, but when do you think players cross the line in training camp? Do they ever cross the line? I feel if they cross the line, it's when someone gets hurt over some stupid altercation that meant nothing. That's when they cross the line. But that's usually after the fact. You don't realize they're crossing the line until someone gets hurt, right? What did your mom used to say? Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get something in their eye. I forgot that saying. But yeah. So I like seeing that. I think it's a good thing. Let me know in the chat box what you think. And we'll see. It was a good test for Clint Kubiak. It shows that, he disciplined them, but he wasn't going to make a really big deal about it at all. So that's what's on my mind, guys. That's what I have for you. Dominic, are you with me? What do you got? What's happening? Are you there?
Hey, I am with you. Can you hear me?
Okay, good. What's happening?
All right. Oh, nothing too much.
All right, cool.
I'm with you on the Kirk Cousins, Max Crosby situation. I like it from both guys. I think, Kirk, he's such a veteran and like everybody's kind of questioning, does he still kind of have it? Well, he's got that fire and tenacity, and he's showing it in Las Vegas. So I'm all for it. I think it's a good step for him, actually, as a matter of fact, and maybe draws a line in the sand to his team. Hey, I'm here to mean business, and so I like it. I like it.
Yeah, and apparently when the next day when he returned, he had one of the best practices. The word is, reports are that he had one of the best practices, and he looked really good. So kudos to Clint Kubiak for sitting them down and like I said, I love Kirk Cousins. I'd love him to do something. And the silver lining was our guy Fernando Mendoza got some first team reps.
So Dan got to play.
Dan got to play for Dando.
Wow,
yeah,
man,
we're going to hear how that is when Fernando joins us on Thursday.
Yeah.
My son.
Oh,
good one.
How about that? Yep. Tune in Thursday, everybody. All right.
Yeah.
We do have some fan questions. Fan questions. And we also have I got a little quick hits here for you too, Tom.
I love quick hits.
Yes. So we'll start it off with this one. This harkens back to your WNBA discussion. I thought this was an interesting topic here.
All right.
Pilot Player says, is WNBA too scared of the old guard media to suspend for the white privilege comment during the game? Yeah, what do you think of the media's handling of all this situation here, Linda?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think they're conscious of everything, and the media. Uh, let's put it this way: the old school WNBA media, they probably think I'm crazy. They probably do not think Dejounte Carrington should be fined for posting on social media during a game, even though she was thrown out. So old school WNBA media probably is not going to agree with me, Linda Cohn, all that much.
Something that was really surprising to me was Stephanie White when she made those comments. There was no follow up. Like, are you saying, like, if I was the media, I'd be asking Stephanie, are you not defending Sophie Cunningham?
Exactly.
That's due diligence right there. That is due diligence, and you're not doing it.
No. They're like, oh, let's just hear what Stephanie White has to say and how she defends the opposing players. We want more of that. No, it was really ridiculous. I mean, you're going to die holding your breath if you're waiting for a clever follow up by the old guard of the WNBA. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And for them to think, oh, the league has never been hotter. How many times do I have to say why it's been hotter? One day, I forgot which day it was a few weeks ago, Dom, I told you we were just, I was like, hey, I'm watching the Indiana Fever, and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even know they were on. And you turned it on and you're like, this is such an exciting brand of basketball. Absolutely. That's what, right? Didn't you say that? You were like, oh my gosh.
First time ever watching it. And, to be honest, it was like exciting. There was fundamental basketball. I'm not used to seeing that in the NBA most times, except when the playoffs get around. And so like seeing those girls go at it. Caitlin, you seen Sophie kind of scrapping it up a little bit, but then Kelsey Mitchell, and then the French girl on the other team, she was amazing too. It was like, man, what a scrappy, hard-fought game. You don't need all this outside noise. And the people that are tuning in, specifically, I'm tuning in because of Caitlin Clark's name. She was the one that launched this whole thing going. And they're killing the golden goose here. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's ass backwards, so to speak.
Yes. So we'll be waiting with bated breath on the memo and the results of their big meeting on how they define a woman. So we'll look forward to that, in the next week or two. What else you got?
Sure. All right. This is more of a comment. This is in regards to Anthony Richardson here.
Yes.
Legendary BK. He happened to say, never in my life have I ever heard a 21-year-old kid called a kid. We need to stop these grown-ass men. He wasn't good enough to be taken that high in the draft, and it showed. 21, Linda, I think you're still kind of a kid, right?
Yeah.
Is that not hard? Your brain's not fully developed at that point.
Not only that, Dom, especially with young men. Young men, there's a science to it. Look it up. Whoever this asked, I'm not killing him. I'm glad he asked the question, but look it up. Science, young men's brains really don't develop till they're 25, 26 years old, not 21. But the bigger point, the bigger issue, it seems like the guy who commented, BK, agreed with me that Anthony Richardson was not good enough to be picked 4th overall. And when you do that for a young man and he feels all that pressure because they were dubbing him a franchise quarterback already, that's what happened. And he was not ready. It would be like, listen, it would be like, again, I want to bring up, because I love Fernando Mendoza when we talk about him, because Dan looks like him, but they're taking their time. They're smart, the Raiders. They're like, that's why they brought in Kirk Cousins. That guy won a national championship, but they're still saying, you know what? He's not ready.
Right.
So, evaluators have to be better in the NFL. And I think many teams have better evaluators now and not just going for the money grab like they used to. But it's really a sad story with Richardson. I hope somehow, some way he finds a path that'll keep him in the NFL, whether as a quarterback, as a backup quarterback, or maybe at another position.
Somebody did agree with you. They mentioned that he'd be a good tight end, possibly.
Yeah. He's so big. Not? He's 6'4". He'd be I love that idea for him. And by the way, tight ends are making good money now. Now we're seeing, we always know quarterbacks make great money, but running backs now are getting their due again. with the deals that are happening. And tight ends are, and we know receivers, obviously, they're up. The divas, they make their money. But then it's running backs making their money. And now tight ends are making their money, and not just Travis Kelce, but they are making their money. And so, yeah, I mean, if I was in the camp of Anthony Richardson, I would definitely think about that position.
Absolutely, kind of consider it. And, we talk about Aaron Glenn, my Jets coach, being on the hot seat. Shane Steichen, a little bit on the hot seat, too. The owner gave him one more year. It's do or die for him, too. It's going to be an important year for sure.
Yeah, he is lucky. Well, they love Daniel Jones. So hopefully Jones stays healthy and puts together. He was an MVP candidate. As a Giants fan, I can never forget that. Goes from a scrub to like an MVP candidate with the Colts. But yeah, I mean, I think if it wasn't for what, Shane Steichen, he's good with QBs. I think that helped Daniel Jones a lot. And I think they helped each other.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting if Jones stays healthy. We'll see where the Colts can go.
I hope they don't go too far because the Jets have their first round pick. So,
good catch. Good point. Yeah. It's hard to keep up with your team and whose picks they have from bad deals or good deals. That was the deal. That was what's his face, right? Who just send? Who went the other way? Who went to the Colts for the pick?
Oh, Sauce Gardner.
Right. Of course. Great player.
Mm-hmm. Great player. Yeah, I like Sauce a lot, but 2 first-round picks is pretty darn good for a trade like that.
Yeah, that's true. You did. That was a good decision. That was a good pick. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, anybody else? Anything else?
Yeah. So we have Randy Warner. This is an interesting question for you, Linda. Linda, if Adam Silver gave you the call to be the new commissioner of the WNBA, would you take the job?
I would be intrigued. I would take a meeting, see what happened. I would love it. That'd be great. Because let me tell you, there's so many, and we've talked about this, Dom. There's so many talented players in the WNBA. There are so many of these players that don't want anything to do with this off-court crap. They want nothing to do with it. They just want to play basketball. Caitlin Clark just wants to play basketball. And, that she's ripped for not supporting her teammate, Sophie Cunningham. It's ridiculous. Again, let's think back in the day. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, just to name 3, never got involved in politics, never promoted their cultural issues. LeBron James, he did. He was very outspoken. He was very vocal. He did that. He became polarizing when it comes to off the court stuff. Why are they dumping on Caitlin Clark or any of these players who just want to see this league grow, who just want to help their team win, who just love playing the game? And I love that nobody in that league that has to deal with so much crap thrown at her than Caitlin Clark, and she's still putting up record numbers, amazing performances. Hey, not every game is a Picasso, people. I like when she has one bad game and one turnover at the end of a game. One of her 8 turnovers. Ooh, 8 turnovers. Oh, like in the NBA, superstars don't have 8 turnovers a game, point guard. Give me a break. They usually average 12. So then the people, and they know who they are, who rip Caitlin Clark, they come out of their hole and they decide to rip her. They know who they are. I don't have to mention names. Google it. So, right. Yeah.
First, day one, you being WNBA commissioner, what's the first thing you're going to instill onto the league?
Well, first of all, I get people around. Day one, I'd get a right staff around me. I get people of all shapes and sizes, basketball people, sports people, business people, all that kind of stuff. I would assemble a good staff around me. And I think that's what you have to do first. And a sharing of ideas. So that would be day one.
I like it. What a good start.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I like it. We'll close it out with this here, Linda. Some rapid fire almost we could maybe do.
Let's do it.
This is NFL Hall of Fame, the first year eligible candidates of 2027.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a few names. You tell me if they're first ballot or even if they're a Hall of Fame eligible in your mind.
Can I say something before we go there? Before we go there, I just want to do some shout outs. Just me shouting out to some of the class. Kudos to just how Canton does things. It's great to see men be sensitive. I mean, women like that, Dom. Yeah. It's great, at certain times, not all the time.
Yes.
But it's great to see men be sensitive. grateful, caring, emotional, all of it. And it's always intriguing and to see their speeches. I really liked. It's too bad it waited for Roger Craig to, it took him so long to get in. 66 years of age, of course, great 49ers running back. I met him years ago. He was such a delight, such a nice man, really a big fan of Roger Craig. And then we found out he has a form of dementia, which he shared during his speech. He couldn't be there in person. But he was so positive. He said, two things could be true. Football helped me with everything. It made me a better person. I had great relationships with people, all of it. And yet, this was a negative, but I'm sharing my story so I could help others so they can go see a doctor if they have symptoms and don't just say it's old age. So I thought that was wonderful that at least he was alive to be able to feel the love, even though it was from far away from Canton. And a couple of other ones, Larry Fitzgerald. I remember they used to have a thing called ESPN The Weekend back in the day in Orlando. And I was looking for the picture and I couldn't find it. I should have asked Dan, Dom, if he had it. But Dan must have been like 10 years old, 11 years old, maybe 10. And he went with me, so did my daughter, Sammy, but he went with me and he met Larry Fitzgerald. So Dan's 30 now, so that was 20 years ago. And Larry Fitzgerald couldn't have been nicer to Dan, took a picture with him, and I'll always remember that. And Larry Fitzgerald, I didn't have the video, but he was asked a question by a reporter, which I found great. And he gave a real honest answer. The question was, would you have rather have a Super Bowl ring or a Hall of Fame jacket? And he paused because, he never won a Super Bowl. Like
Right.
The question was, if you would you trade in that Hall of Fame jacket for a Super Bowl ring? And he paused and he's like, well, I don't have a Super Bowl ring. So the answer is no. I think for me, the Hall of Fame jacket is worth more than a Super Bowl ring. And you could make that case, even though it's easy to say because he didn't get one. But I get that because it shows consistency in your career over so many years of being great, as opposed to winning a Super Bowl ring where maybe you didn't play a part, perhaps. He could have won a Super Bowl. He'd been to one. He could have maybe only had 2 catches, for 14 yards. You just never know. And he'd have his ring. But would that have meant more than a jacket? What do you think of that, Dom, before we go into the next class? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's always nice to be called a Super Bowl champion, but
yeah,
if you're a wide receiver like Larry Fitzgerald,
yeah,
the ball is literally out of your hands for the most part of the time.
Yeah.
You are at the behest of how skilled your quarterback is.
right.
And it's not like Larry Fitzgerald had a career full of Hall of Fame quarterbacks. He had Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner, right? Didn't he have Kurt Warner?
Carson Palmer too, right? And Carson Palmer was really
well,
good.
he's not a Hall, but yeah,
not a
yeah.
Hall of Famer, but
No.
a very good quarterback. But it's so I think for Larry to say that too, and he's such a selfless kind of individual.
Yes.
And so I understand it too. I understand it, and I'm kind of with them on that, especially if you're wide receiver more so than not.
Yeah. And then we had, of course, Adam Vinatieri, funny guy, greatest, so great. Nobody had more clutch kicks than this guy. I mean, you could talk about the old school guys, the Morton Andersons for longevity, but Adam Vinatieri did it when no one could. No wide rights, none of that stuff, in snowstorms, in blizzards, when everything was on the line. And he did it for 2 different teams. And he won 4 Super Bowls, 3 with Brady and Belichick and 1 with Peyton Manning. We heard all his jokes. Yeah. We love Peyton Manning, and he was ripping his forehead, but knowing Peyton, and Peyton's so great, he laughed that off, and he just said, yeah, humble kicker. Which was so funny. I love Peyton so much. And then, he ripped Brady, of course, and then Belichick, that line about Jordan, the girlfriend, about, Bill Belichick couldn't be here because haven't you heard he was judging a cheerleading competition of his girlfriends, which was kind of funny.
I thought it was funny too. My tinfoil hat went on a little bit at that point though. And I was thinking, so Belichick, he didn't get voted into the Hall of Fame last year. And so, and I think that was egregious. I think he first ballot is Bill. But is that the reason maybe he wasn't there? Is he had a little bit of sour grapes about that? What do you think?
I think that is the reason. I think that is the reason. Although he's currently in a ton of doo-doo with UNC right now, a lot going on there. That's the only word I could think of right now. But sure, I don't blame Bill for doing that.
Yeah.
His off the field shenanigans or whatever, or his attitude toward the media should not have interfered with him being, and to Adam Vinatieri's credit, he did say after the joke, Bill's the greatest coach of all time, which he is. Even though if it wasn't for Tom Brady, he'd be a losing head coach, because we'll never know. That was the record before Tom Brady, losing head coach. Although we do love Drew Bledsoe, and that was one of the jokes that Adam Vinatieri said, that he got to play with the greatest Patriot quarterback of all time, Drew Bledsoe.
Man, I love
It wasn't bad. I love Drew.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah,
could have won a Super Bowl. He could have won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he could have. Yeah, just a bad break.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So the next class, 2027. Go.
All right, here we go. We'll start off. Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, he had some off the field stuff. He's not a first ballot. If you don't put my Eli in first ballot, Ben is not first ballot. Remember, Jerome Bettis saved his ass when Ben fumbled at the goal line, and Bettis recovered that fumble, and they were able to get to that Super Bowl. Ben was always nice to me, but if he gets in before Eli, or at least them at the same time, I'll accept that something's wrong with that.
I think we're going to have to set aside a full episode for your Eli Manning for Hall of Fame argument.
Yes, I think we do.
Just a complete episode.
And maybe we can get Eli on. I don't know. Again, Eli has no idea how much I should be president of his fan club.
Get Brother Peyton on there. We'll get Brother Peyton
That's
on there.
True. Maybe Peyton will tell him.
All right, here's an interesting one. Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, again, some off the field stuff. Man, but there was, this is a tough one. And I'd have to give this thought, and I'd have to look into the other things that went down. But one, as we all know, and all these Hall of Fames are different, but you have to dominate that position for a period of time. And Adrian Peterson dominated that position for a period of time.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how the people who have votes vote. And if how much they bring the off the field stuff into the on the field stuff. That's my answer.
All right. Rob Gronkowski.
First ballot Hall of Famer.
I'm with you. Yes.
Done. Next.
That's an easy.
Yeah.
Eric Weddle.
No, he's got to wait around a little bit.
Okay. Antonio Brown.
Yeah. I mean, one of the best, if you're just talking skill, one of the greatest we've ever seen in our lifetime. Really. But he's a nutcase,
Yes.
But his teammates love him for the most part. They love AB, but they don't vote on this. So he won't be in on the first ballot.
And listen, credit to Mike Tomlin, too, for trying to keep that ship together when he was around. Because, I mean, what a handful. And, for him to just
yes.
That he's at that level of an elite wide receiver, and you still got all that disarray going on.
Tom Brady loved him, Dom. Tom Brady loved him, but brought him to Tampa, didn't he? I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
My Jets broke him. We broke Antonio Brown. He took the shirt off, he took the jersey off, and walked off. And he was done. It was it.
That's it.
New York.
Again, always about the Jets, Dom.
Those gosh darn Jets. All right, we'll close out with this one. Richard Sherman.
Yeah, again, dominating a position for a period of time. Legion of Boom. Super Bowl champion. Okay. Had some off-field stuff. It's just where these voters' heads are at. Yeah, that's a toss-up to me. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in first ballot. And then I also wouldn't be surprised if, they're sending a message to some of these guys.
Do you think that should be the rule, though? Sending a message in certain
ways?
No,
I think it should be for on the field performance, unless it's a criminal thing. We're not talking O.J. Simpson here.
Right.
right? I mean,
Yeah, there's some dicey
unless
stuff with
it's
some of these.
something criminal, unless it's something you're arrested and charged,
Right. Then it's a different story.
then it's a different animal, different story.
All right, we'll convene on this next year, okay?
All right, great. We'll add that to the list of things to chat about. Yes, for sure.
Good.
What else do I want to close with? I don't know. I know Tuesday I'm going to watch the Indiana Fever because I know something else is going to happen. They're playing the New York Liberty. So we'll see if something goes down. But honestly, it's getting close to I love chatting about the NFL. And little do we know, sooner or later we're going to talk hockey. You know I'm going to talk hockey. The NBA and the NHL are just around the corner. That'll be so great. But for now, thank you guys for tuning in for the live edition. You know to please like and subscribe. And you can, if you missed anything on this live show, no worries. It's always there on the channel. If you subscribe, you can also be notified when I post something new. If you missed anything, I love that aspect of YouTube where if you're a subscriber, they'll alert you on your phone. Hey, Linda just posted something, and then you can watch it and then you can like it and tell your friends to subscribe. And thanks again, 16,300 last I look. I appreciate all of you. And I don't know. That's it. I think I'll go hang out with my dog Babs. And yeah, Kelly Clarkson was amazing. What's my next concert? You know what's on my list? I'm seeing Evanescence at Red Rocks in October. Never been to Red Rocks. Love Evanescence. I'm big on the concerts, but you're going to hear more about that. But I'll probably see somebody else before that. Also, I might see Daughtry on my birthday in Anaheim. Love Daughtry. Seen him before too. All right, enough about that. Guys, have a great Monday or whatever day this is when you are watching me. And we will see you Thursday when my son Dan joins me, aka Ferdando, as we'll talk his hot NFL takes. And I can't wait for that, of course. See you then. For Dominic, I'm Linda. Bye.